Ya, selamat sore semuanya. Good afternoon everyone. Terima kasih sudah bergabung dalam seri Bincang Seniman Kolaborator Urfir Huhu dan Kerumunan Virgins. Thank you for joining the series of Artist Talk of Urfir Huhu and the Multitude of Virgins. So this is the third talk and the last one. Previously, we already have a series with 7 collaborators, and today we will have 4 other collaborator artists that already joined with us in the Zoom from Jakarta and other part of the world. At first, we have Nyak Ina Raseuki, or we know her as Ubit from Jakarta, Indonesia. And then we have Yasuhiro Morinaga from Tokyo, Japan. And then we have Venuri Perera that actually from Colombo, Sri Lanka, but apparently she's now in Amsterdam for her study. And then will be join us later, Micari-san from Shizuoka, Japan. Jadi teman-teman, ini adalah seri terakhir dari Bincang Seniman Kolaborator. Sebelumnya kita sudah punya 2 seri bersama 7 seniman. Dan sore hari ini kita punya 4 seniman yang ada dari Jakarta dan juga dari luar Indonesia. Ada Mbak Ubit dari Jakarta, ada Yasuhiro Morinaga dari Tokyo, Jepang, ada Venuri Perera dari Colombo, Sri Lanka, tapi sekarang sedang berada di Amsterdam. Dan nanti akan bergabung dengan kita Micari dari Shizuoka, Jepang. So here's will be the rules from this for this talk, because we already have 3 language here. We have English, Indonesia, and also Japan. This conversation will be held in English, but in the Q&A sessions, maybe the question will be in Bahasa Indonesia. If you want to write in English, also you can write in the chat box. And also I will read the question in the chat box in Bahasa Indonesia if they write in Bahasa Indonesia. There is simultaneous interpretation that you can turn on, depend on the language that you want to listen. Jadi teman-teman, percakapan pada sore hari ini akan berlangsung dalam bahasa Inggris, tapi dalam sesi tanya jawab, jika teman-teman ingin menuliskan pertanyaan dalam bahasa Indonesia bisa dituliskan di kolom chat box, atau nanti jika ingin bertanya langsung menggunakan bahasa Indonesia juga bisa. Kita ada penerjemah simultan yang bekerja bersama kita sore hari ini, Mas Idaman dan juga Mbak Gracia. Teman-teman bisa mengaktifkan mode simultaneous interpretation atau interpretasi terjemahan langsung di sebelah bawah Zoom Anda. Dan teman-teman bisa memilih bahasa apa yang akan didengar atau yang ingin didengarkan. Jadi ada pilihan, pertama pilihannya adalah off, jika Anda tidak ingin menggunakan fasilitas penerjemahan. Yang kedua ada pilihan English, jika Anda ingin mendengarkan terjemahan dalam bahasa Inggris. Kemudian yang ketiga ada Korean, jika Anda ingin mendengarkan terjemahan dalam bahasa Indonesia. Selanjutnya Anda bisa memilih fitur membisukan audio asli atau mute original audio untuk hanya mendengar terjemahan. Fitur terjemahan ini bisa diaktifasi jika Anda sudah menggunakan Zoom versi terbaru. Jadi untuk mengeceknya silakan biasanya di kiri atas zoom.us itu ada check updates. Nah, kalau belum muncul fitur penerjemahan mungkin bisa dicek update-nya dulu. So everyone, there is a simultaneous interpretation that you can turn on and you can activate by using the newest versions of Zoom. To activate, you click the icon interpretation in the below. There's a bar below. And then you can choose first off if you don't want to use the interpretation facilitate, and English if you only want to hear the English interpretations. And yeah, for sure Korean I don't think you need it because this is will be in Bahasa Indonesia interpretations. Also click the mute original audio to hear the interpretation only. Thank you so much. Maybe you can give me a code by this thumb reactions if you already okay with this interpretation mode activations. Teman-teman yang berbahasa Indonesia apakah sudah oke dengan fitur penerjemahannya? Nggak kelihatan videonya. Oke. So, let's begin in the first part. I will speak in English. I will directly go to the first artist. That's Nyak Ina Raseuki, or we know as Ubit from Jakarta, Indonesia, that have a collaborations sound work with Yasuhiro Morinaga from Tokyo, Japan. They made a Huhus Ur sounds. But the first, we had Mbak Ubit. Please, time is yours.
Terima kasih, Sita atau Arsita. Hello, everyone. I'm going to share a short note, my share in Urfir. Teman-teman di garasi meminta saya untuk menyampaikan ini dalam bahasa Inggris. So I will start with when you invited me to join the multitude of virgins. That was in February 2019, I think. And I imagine that collaboration would happen with many individuals. Like, some of you are here right now. Then a month later, the pandemic came and we didn't know how the project would be. And then in July, Yudi called back and said that the project would be continued and the medium would be used, was modular on a website. Oh, okay, I said. With the excitement to work with Yasuhiro Morinaga, whom I know for a long time, but I have never worked with him yet, while realizing that we could not work with everybody else in the project directly. So in early August, we met. So Yudi, Ugo, I should mention their name completely, Yudi Tajuddin, Goran Prasad, Yasuhiro Morinaga, and me virtually, of course. So from the discussion, I concluded that Huhu would be the starting point for the collaboration between Yasu and I. So as you might know, some of you might know, Huhu is a character in the Virgin script who is described as a language reformer from the coast of Malabar. In the long distance dialogue between Yasu and I, we agree that the use of voices would come along the interpretation and the line given by the director and the dramaturg, which is Yudi and Ugo. So what is Huhu is looking for? Which or what kinds of sounds or voices? That's the thing that we're working on. One thing, when I heard about Peer from Yudi, it's hard not to remember the sounds from the work of Grieg or Edvard Grieg, a romantic Norwegian composer who composed the music for Peer this was a bit tricky at the beginning. As you know, it is the melodious, romantic kind of sounds as opposed to the idea came about for the Who sounds. So from some video calling with Yasu, we agreed to enter the collaboration through several rituals from several cultures. The process was that I would be among the performance of the rituals, watching from the outside, also from the distance, and interpreting them. So, with the context of fear, anxiety, mobility, immobility, we've heard many times in this project, the sound as a source of my expression finds its way to interpreted everyday sounds and the sound of the past. The elements I use, for example, focus on nonsensical syllables. For example, as some of you already heard from the recordings, something like something like that. And an androgynous timbre, the voice between female and male timbre. This is to say that around me, in Indonesia especially, often expect melodious voices or suara merdu, bening, indah, to be produced from female voices, for example. So in between twisted and indifferent voice and sound, I stood observing the layers of sounds around me for the whole. Uh,
Please a bit slow down.
oh, slow down. Is it too fast? No, this is very short, Sita. So after many times seeing other friends of semi-collaborator, I call this, this collaboration as a semi-collaboration or semi-collaborator, all of us. In Orfir, I found some sort of connection. I don't know. Somehow I feel that way. I see Venuri. I've seen Venuri's work, and then Micari, and then Sita as well, Mas Gunawan Marianto, and Mas Komar. Siapa lagi? Yang lampu-lampu itu siapa? Darlene,
Darlene.
Letai, ya Darlene, lalu ada Adi Karya, and one more. Who's
Ari Dwianto.
Ari Duyanto, that's right. So I've been seeing all this, and then I have found that some sort of a connection, but it does not always have to be the same interpretation of the outline, by those outline given by the director and dramaturg. I think this is how I see along the way all this collaboration and between knowing and finding a way how to make a connection between us. I don't know. I think I like to hear from some of the friends that are here right now, from Yasuf and Venuri and Micari as well, and maybe Mas Gunawan Marianto and Sita as well. I think I should stop here, Sita, and then I think I'll give it back to you, Sita. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mbak Ubit.
Terlalu cepat ya, enggak kan?
Ya tadi sudah dikode, tolong agak dipelankan gitu. Okay, so we go directly to the half collaborator of Mbak Ubit, Yasuhiro Morinaga. You there? With the name.
Hello.
Hello. Yes, Yasu, please. The time is yours.
Okay. Sorry, it's a bit weird looking at myself.
Hello, Yasu.
Hey, Ubi. Okay, so I have a little bit of time to talk about this project. So thank you, Ubit, for anyway collaborating with me for this wonderful project, and also thank you, Yudi, for directing this project. First of all, perhaps I'm not probably talking more about technical stuff. I'm talking more about like conceptual statement in this project, because I joined this project from the beginning. Performance in Tokyo, and Shizuoka, and we are supposed to do a show in Jakarta, but we postponed or cancelled because of this pandemics. But I'm quite sure that the approach we did is something that we have to think more about. How do you say? It's not on behalf of, instead of a performer. It's kind of like it becomes a individual, solo project because it's web-based, but in the web, there's some interactivity, which navigating and connecting from one to the another. It's more like, reading a script of a plugin in itself. So regarding the sound, how should I say? I don't know. To start with this project for a sound, I'm trying to think about what is a diegetic word of the store of the plugin, and also non-diegetic word of a plugin, and how the sound can kind of overlap each other. So that's how I start to think about sound in this project. And then after that, I'm trying to think again about how do you say, about the issue inside the story, and also the issue in current society of our everyday life, not only from Japan but also Indonesia, or as a global, a statement. I felt that this is a bit strange, but I feel like everything in a way is becoming a verb. I don't know if this makes sense to you, but somehow we are always using a noun, but noun to be used as a verb. So in plugin, when I read through over and over, I felt that this character of plugin is a character in the story, but he is standing out from the story in itself and becoming another character. And this kind of process of how he sees and how I read, it's more like becoming a process of a verb. It's a bit strange to say, but I felt this is very important when it comes to the sound. So creating this sound for what I felt. Usually I am working on a field. I tend to go a lot in Indonesia to document a sound from a different ethnic group. And not only Indonesia, I go to lots of mountains or rural area to document music of ethnic minorities. But then, because of this pandemic, I'm not able to do this kind of fieldwork anymore. So I start to think about what is the field what is a field work, or what is against to the field. Then I came up this idea of experimentation, and experimentation is a sort of like another like kind of a I don't know, reverse meaning of field work. So in this project, me and Ubit, we did quite a bit of experimentations, not only making a music of, let's say, a chamber music, as you can listen from first one and the last one of the track, but also creating a soundscape. The soundscape is like when in music, when a vocalist stands out and all this other instrument becomes like background, but we experiment in a way that two main sound becomes one unity, which creates a quite interesting non-diegetic world of the Pyugint in itself. And then thirdly, obviously we hear a lot of Ubit voice, which doesn't belong to any characters, but it is actually involved with many aspects of many characters or many objects of the Pyugint in the books. So these three things, which I found very, which these three tracks, which we made, is somehow is a result of our experimentations, which is against to what I see, a field work of the virtual, cyberspace. So that's how we created the sound for a Pyugint. So yeah, that's how I did. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Yasu.
I don't know. I hope you understand.
Thank you so much. Yeah, please, everyone, if you want to respond or you have a question, you can write in the chat box. And then now we will go to the next artist, the lovely woman. We have Venuri Perera. She is from in Amsterdam for her studies, but she actually originally from Colombo, Sri Lanka. Please, Venuri.
Hi, Sita.
Hi.
And everybody else. I first want to say thank you very much for having me in the project and also here today. It's been a huge learning process for me the last few years of collaborating with this lovely group of people from different parts of the world, but mainly from Theatre Garasi. And I think like each time we met and each time we created something has been so different from the version before, and all with this kind of like basis and the thread of the Pyugint. So this time, I mean, I think a lot of the background of the general stuff everyone knows, but I'll just talk about my personal process. Yeah, it took me some time to figure out how to contribute for this modular work. When we decided, I think that was that whole period when we were still waiting, really hoping that we could, really gather over, because it was supposed to be June or July, right? The original thing. And every month we would meet and have a discussion. And like this modular thing was, I think, in the last kind of a kind of a plan B. And then when it was finally decided, and Yudi and Ugo said that, okay, we're going to work separately. And then I was also in the middle of not sure, am I transitioning? Am I moving? Am I going to be in Sri Lanka or not? But I was kind of quite sure after some time that I wanted to work out, to take the world outside and bring bring the work on the streets, because there has been connecting threads from some of the characters, because also how to bring traces of the work we did before in Shizuoka, in Tokyo, in Flores, into this final modular work also. And each one of us has characters and themes that we've been dealing with separately. So in my case, the exotic other, the colonialism, even the levels of madness. So Huhu and Anitra were the kind of lenses through I was kind of approaching this work and the modular. And also, so I mean, there were some practical difficulties also, like how do you, I mean, lots of questions, right? Because it was said before that, like Yasu also said, like it's not, we don't want to directly translate everything and just bring these performances into this medium, but how do you really think about transforming what you're doing that could connect also across audiences in this way? And it's very new for us, right? Like, I mean, we work with live bodies and energies and this kind of thing. So it was, so I thought like, okay, maybe it could be something like edited footage of me being outside, and also because I've been having also like footage of I have been shooting myself, having people come to film. I won't talk too much about the content, because I think in the lecture I talk and reflect and it's all there, but maybe I'll talk more about the process. And then I also filmed myself, as you have said, a little bit of footage of me, even finally when I decided to travel to Amsterdam, footage of that. And then we thought, okay, it could be also a comparison of by the situation here and the situation there. And finally, also the lecture performance format came in also in discussion with Yudi and Ugo, because in the Shizuoka version, me playing Anitra in the second, in the opening scene was also a lecture performance. And we thought, okay, let's bring this element back. And also I had been also watching certain things that have been online. And I felt that this format of being able to talk and connect with someone, like even by now, like looking at the camera, even though I cannot see, of course, who I'm talking to, the possibility of imagining that we could have an intimate connection somehow, because intimacy is also something that is my also a personal concern of mine, how to establish intimacy in performance. So it felt like this was then the best format to do it in, to talk about and to bring it in this lecture performance format with the footage of the work that has been done. Then we could also think about footage from before the collaboration and then during the collaboration and things like that. And also it was interesting to see connections. I mean, unfortunately, we haven't been able to meet some of the collaborators who joined this time, like Darlene and Abdi, and then also just to see the connections and the resonances, even if we didn't talk about it really, that because of course we are also dealing with the same text, how we have a kind of how we connect, the points of connection has been really interesting to see. So yes, I mean, that was, and then finally, I mean, the actual filming, I mean, I thought, okay, we had this text that I was working with back and forth, creating the text, figuring out how we could work as a lecture performance. And then, I mean, I arrived here and I'm just new, right? I don't know anything. I don't have people to come and film with me. So I was trying to do it myself. And the actual process of filming, also where to do it with the proper lighting and things like that. Because I'm here in a kind of a art school right now, in a sense. So there was a sense of being able to find some space, but also because of the Corona rules, was not also always possible to do that. But I think I must have filmed this lecture, I don't know how many times, because it was just not working. Like something would happen because I'm shooting with myself. Like I imagined I filmed the whole thing and the battery had died, or I had, I wanted to cut the sections. And so each time I pressed the camera, it moved, and then I was kicked out of the space, or like, so there was always something wrong. And so I was like, it was not the easiest thing to do. And I questioned, like, okay, is this something that I would do again? I mean, I don't know. And I really hope that we will soon find ways to actually be able to be together. But the fact that I must say, congratulations to the entire team who have been working technically to bring this fantastic, the format of the stage and the festival, that we could go and watch and go into, like, like go really intimate into people's worlds, has been interesting, and I think a really good example for how kind of global collaborations may work in this time when we cannot be mobile. Yeah, there's another thing, like the mobility and immobility was something that we had been addressing in this work, and suddenly it came to the phone. Oh, nobody could be mobile anymore, and so then what do you actually do? So yeah, I think I'll stop now, and maybe there'll be questions later. But that was kind of like the technical process of how I went through the whole thing, and finding ways to connect to the earlier works, and finding ways to connect to the text, and also because of this modular format, because some of the things like the Shizuoka version, we were kind of also sticking a lot to the script, and then adding, it was like these kind of like there's a script, and then we have also insertions of how our relating to our context and how we address the topics. And here we could really depart, like really from Peer Gynt, but really play with the concepts and the ideas. And I think this is something we were also doing in Tokyo. In that version was also something when we actually created the monopoly and the asylum scene. That was kind of how that happened. So I think we've kind of went back to that kind of a process, and it was really interesting. I mean, it feels a little bit also a lonely for me, a very lonely process, because this is meant to be a collaboration and things we were supposed to do together, and it was it felt but then, I mean, it's something that we have to acknowledge in these times, that we're all kind of isolated and weirdly connected with each other in this with this object in front of me, but those things kind of really came to the fore also in the making, like how lonely this process was. I'll stop now, but yes, thank you very much, Sita, for having me.
Thank you so much. Yeah. So maybe you already watched the lecture performance of Venuri Perera with the title On Gaze and Anonymity, or See You Don't See Me. Thank you, Venuri. Yeah, we're still waiting for Micari-san. She hasn't been here right now. Maybe it's also about the connections, because she lives in like a village in Shizuoka. So we will wait for her. But then I think we already have some questions on the chat box. I think, can you scroll up? Sorry. Yeah, I think for now we have a question for Yasu and Mbak Ubit. This is in English, so I will continue speaking English. This is especially for Yasu from Mbak Baby. I have bad reception here resulted in some freezes. I didn't clearly get what Yasu just said after thinking about the issues in the Virgin story and how they relate to the current issues. Did Yasu say that everything in a way becoming a bark? Thank you. So maybe Yasu, can you... Where is Yasu?
Sita, Yasu
Yeah.
just texted me. He had to do something with his daughter. So her like baby daughter just arrived from outside. So he had to do something with her. So maybe he will come back
Okay.
in 10 or 20 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mas Yudi. Thank you. So we go to the next question from Firia in the chat box. This is question maybe from Mbak Ubit then. First, what are the technical challenges found throughout the process of making this music amid the pandemic, especially because you guys must work separately? And then the second, can Mbak Ubit and Yasu tell us more about the process of finding the right everyday elements to be included in the musics? And the third, has the pandemic changed the way you guys approach these projects? And it's also interesting to hear more about Mbak Ubit and Yasu perspective on fear and anxiety coming from the mobility and openness of globalizations. Teman-teman, pertanyaannya sudah diterjemahkan dalam bahasa Indonesia ya, untuk teman-teman yang berbahasa Indonesia di kolom chat box. Terima kasih. So Mbak Ubit, can you?
Terima kasih Sita.
Yes.
Saya rasa kali ini supaya adil saya jawab dalam bahasa Indonesia.
Oke.
Nanti Mas, seperti janji kita tadi.
Oke, sebentar Mbak, kalau gitu. So Mbak Ubit will answer in bahasa Indonesia. So please, for you, the one that speaking in English, you can turn on the or activate the translations for English.
Ya.
Thank you.
Ya, terima kasih Mas, siapa tadi ini?
Mas Firia.
Oh, Mas Firia. Oke, Mas Firia Singgi. Ya, ini masalah teknis ya, teknis dan tidak teknis sebetulnya. Selama ini kan kita di Indonesia ini sangat manja ya, jadi kita sangat dependensi kita terhadap teknologi kah, terhadap sebuah situasi di mana produksi itu selalu terbantukan gitu. Jadi ketika pandemi ini tidak ini salah satu yang saya kerjakan independently, sendirian, seperti yang tadi sudah dijelaskan oleh Venuri, betapa sulitnya ternyata ya bekerja sendirian, terutama kita di Indonesia yang menurut saya sangat manja gitu. Kita selalu bergantung. Kalau dulu saya mau merekam ya tinggal datang ke studio, sudah selesai masalahnya. Ada sound engineer, ada sound designer dan seterusnya yang akan membantu kita. Tapi di antara berpikir ada konsep di sana, ada cita-cita tertentu yang ingin dicapai bersama di dalam sebuah Urfir sendiri maupun di antara Yasu dan saya. Jadi ada beberapa layer sebenarnya kesulitannya menurut saya, karena kan kita tidak bertatap muka. Tentu saya sekali chatting sama Yudi, juga dengan Yasu, tapi problem-problem seperti ini sebenarnya yang akan pasti kita akan terus temui di dalam masa-masa ini sampai nggak tahu sampai vaksin datang ya. Tapi anyway, itu satu pertanyaan. Pertanyaan yang kedua itu proses apa tadi ya?
Menemukan
cara ya. Ya tadi saya kira Yasu sudah menjelaskan bagaimana kami menemukan bunyi-bunyi seperti apa yang sebetulnya terkait dengan keseluruhan ide yang diberikan oleh sutradara Yudi dalam hal ini dan dramaturg Mas Ugo gitu atau Ugo. Maksudnya saya panggil Mas Ugo ya. Mas Yudi gitu. Kakak Yudi dan Kakak Ugo.
Kak Yudi dan Kak Ugo biasanya kami
Iya, biasanya saya juga memanggil mereka karena mereka manggil saya Kak Ubit. Jadi gitu kira-kira. Nah, bagaimana kami menemukan jalannya? Tentu ini seperti tadi sudah dengan sangat baik dijelaskan oleh Yasu bagaimana ulang-alik ya, karena kan kami bekerja bersama. Ulang-alik ini memang eksperimentasinya memang sangat menarik menurut saya. Jadi saya misalnya merekam ya, setelah ada ide, lalu idenya seperti ini, Ubit, oke, iya, Yasu seperti ini. Lalu saya mencobakannya, saya merekam. Yang tadi itu saya baru belajar loh merekam. Gara-gara Urfir, saya sekarang bisa merekam sendiri menggunakan salah satu aplikasi. Merekam, lalu saya kirim dengan WeTransfer, dengan Drive, whatever gitu. Mula-mula sulitnya setengah mati, karena saya memang agak gagap teknologi. Tapi ketika itu dikirimkan, itu diolah kembali kan oleh Yasu kan. Jadi suara-suara yang sudah direkam oleh saya itu kemudian atas kesepakatan konsep bersama itu, yang tadi itu misalnya bunyi-bunyi keseharian, Itu sebenarnya datangnya belakangan ya bunyi keseharian, tapi yang di depannya itu kan tadi saya sudah sempat jelaskan bagaimana saya mengolah suara-suara yang sebetulnya kan kita saling berkomunikasi, tapi kadang-kadang komunikasi itu tidak jalan, bagaimana perlintasan bahasa itu juga kadang-kadang mandek. Makanya dari awal saya sudah menegaskan kepada Yudi dan kakak Yudi dan kakak Ugo dan tentu saja kepada Yasu bahwa saya akan menggunakan nonsensical syllables. Itu salah satu usulan yang saya berikan kepada mereka. Nah, di dalam perjalanannya tentu saja suara-suara yang direkam itu terus berkembang ya, eksperimentasi tadi ya, saya kirim lalu kembali lagi saya tercengang, oh kok jadinya begini gitu ya, meskipun tentu ada proses elektroakustik yang dilakukan oleh Yasu, tapi ada juga yang suara itu ya begitu saja dipersembahkan seperti yang Anda dengar semua. Satu hal lagi tadi saya sudah sampaikan bagaimana saya menggunakan suara-suara androgini ya, suara-suara di mana suara perempuan tidak, suara laki di antara itu. Karena kita kan selalu berharap kalau nyanyian itu selalu harus merdu, atau suara itu harus merdu, suara itu harus cantik, harus bening gitu kan. Nah, dari prinsip-prinsip yang sudah atau konsep yang sudah kami sepakati itu kira-kira bukan terjemahan langsung, bukan tafsiran langsung yang harafiah, tapi bagaimana sedemikian rupa si suara-suara itu bisa mewakili keseluruhan. Saya mencoba mengaitkan kira-kira Darlin melakukan apa ya kira-kira, atau teman-teman di sana melakukan apa ya. Saya jadi cuma membayangkan karena kami tidak betul-betul bertemu bersama-sama. Jadi saya kira-kira, jangan-jangan suara ululating yang mungkin akan mewakili teman-teman yang ada di NTT gitu. Kira-kira menjawab nggak ya? Kira-kira saya kira semua 3 pertanyaan sudah saya jawab. Sementara begitu dulu ya, Sita. Terima kasih.
Terima kasih banyak, Mbak Ubit. Ya, teman-teman, saya mau beralih ke pembicara atau seniman keempat, yaitu Micari-san dari Shizuoka, Jepang. Untuk itu saya juga memanggil teman saya, kolega kami, Tomomi Yokosuka, untuk membantu menerjemahkan kali ini dari Jepang ke Indonesia. Ini triple ini bahasanya. So everyone, I will go to the next artist, Micari-san from Shizuoka, Japan, that already here with us in the Zoom. I invite our colleague Tomomi Yokosuka. She will interpret Micari-san from Japan to Indonesia, and then Idaman and Gracia will interpret to you in English via Zoom interpretations. Hello, Micari-san.
Micari-san.
Hello.
こんばんは。
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 お待たせしました。
こんばんは。
Thank you.
今私がいるのは静岡ではなくて山梨県の八ヶ岳というところです。
Aku sekarang tinggalnya bukan di Shizuoka, tapi di Yamanashi. Di Yatsugatake. Yatsugatake itu pegunungan. Aku tinggalnya di situ.
はい、よろしくお願いします。
Aku langsung mulai aja ya. はい、どうぞ。
はい、
silakan.
はい。はい、今回参加させていただいてありがとうございます。
Awalnya sangat terima kasih karena aku bisa gabung karya ini.
昨年、インドネシアフローレストでのワークと、それから、東京でのクリエーションは、これ私は参加できなかったんですけれども、そして昨年の秋、日本の静岡県舞台芸術センタースパックでの上演と、通してきまして、そこで、そうですね、インスピレーションを受けたこととか、自分の中に蓄積されたこと、皆さんから影響を受けたこと、そして今、この状況下で私がこの、八ヶ岳というところに住んでいての、そうですね、そこにこの土地で囲まれている そこからインスピレーションをもらって作品作りをしました。そして、そうですね、イメージの、積み重ね、それを提出して、ユディやウゴに、見ていただいて、そして少し相談をしたりして、で、編集をしていただいて、一つの形になりました。
Ini proses karyaku. Aku ikut Pirgun dari tahun yang lalu. Tahun yang lalu di Flores, Larantuka. Terus aku dapat banyak inspirasi dari sana. Lalu aku nggak bisa ikut workshop di Tokyo. Tapi ya sudah mendengar prosesnya. Lalu di SPAC. Itu juga tahun yang lalu ya. Terus kalau SPAC aku main. Jadi yang selama udah lama beberapa bulan aku dapat banyak inspirasi sama di situasi sekarang yang pandemi ini. Terus aku banyak mikir pandemi ini sama situasiku, sama aku dapat banyak dampak dari lingkunganku. Karena aku tinggalnya di desa, di pegunungan, Yatsugatake. Itu juga aku dapat inspirasi banyak dari lingkungan itu. Terus awalnya aku cuma kasih imaji video. Belum ada apa-apa, tapi aku kasih imaji video, lalu bicara sama Yudi. Terus akhirnya bisa bikin satu karya.
Hai, dozo.
はい。断片、ピースをこう重ねていくうちに、オーセ、ペール・ギュントのお母さんの役をやらせていただいていたので、オーセの臨終のシーンですね。ペールと再会して、そして、ペールとの思い出の中で、また、そうですね。旅立っていくわけですけれども、そこを、中心に、光ですね。今、いろんな状況でその苦しい立場におられる方たちが大勢世界中にいると思いますけれども、死に旅立つ、時に、美しい光であるとか、柔らかな、葉っぱの音だとか、そういう優しいものに包まれて旅立っていくっていうイメージをですね、作って、少しでも、旅立ちの時に光、美しい光や、優しい光景に包まれて旅立っていってほしいと。たくさんの魂、人々が旅立つときには、そんな風に、送り出してあげたいっていう思いを込めまして、作りました。
Terus aku bikin syuting video-video itu awalnya belum ada kaitan sama sekali, cuma imaji-imaji ya satu elemen-elemen. Tapi saya dapat inspirasinya terutama yang AC, yang itu tokonya ibunya Pirgun, yang dalam naskah Pirgun. Karena yang di Larantuka dan SPAC juga aku main tokoh OC. Jadi aku fokuskan OC. Terus yang OC itu yang jadi terus fokus utamakan adegan yang kematian OC. Sebelumnya bisa ketemu sama Pirgun, akhirnya bisa ketemu Pirgun, terus lalu kematian. Itu aku fokuskan situ. Terus aku berharap kematian, berangkat, itu semoga bukan sedih, kesepian, tapi yang ada banyak cahaya lembut, cahaya indah, jadi mau melindungi orang yang mau berangkat. Karena situasi sekarang agak sedih, banyak orang kesulitan yang pandemi ini juga ada yang banyak penderita. Tapi saya berharap banyak orang yang mau berangkat ke dunia lain atau dunia baru. Itu semuanya yang mau berangkat itu semoga mereka kerasa tenang, merasa tenang, jangan sedih. Aku berharap berharap itu untuk karyaku.
はい。
どうでしょう。
そして、はい、ですね、まあ、断片を少しずつ取りためていくうちに、自分の中でも少しつながりができてきて、そして、それを、ユリーに提出した後で、本当に素晴らしい編集をしてくださって、嬉しかったです。自分でちょっと想像していなかったこの順番とかがあったりして、とても新鮮に、見れて、作品が、はい、素晴らしく、なったなと思って、ありがとうございます。ユリーとそれから編集をしてくださったチームの皆さんに感謝します。
Awalnya saya
共に。
saya
通訳
memang
してくれた共に。
syuting itu nggak mikir urutan, cuma elemen-elemen, nggak mikir apa, tapi cuma ambil gambar-gambar terus kirim ke Yudi. Lalu di editing. Jadi yang saya nonton setelah editing, saya nonton karyanya itu di luar dugaanku. Urutan juga aku lama-lama ada muncul cerita. Awalnya belum ada cerita, tapi lama-lama muncul cerita. Mungkin gini. Urutannya juga dikit ada membayangkan. Tapi ternyata karya yang sudah jadi, wah itu jadi kayak kolaborasi sama Yudi, sama tim garasi. Terus urutannya di luar dugaanku. Jadi wah saya sendiri segar, rasa segar, sama sangat senang, bahagia. Sangat terima kasih kepada Yudi sama tim garasi.
はい。それから、まだ大丈夫かな？
Masih nggak apa-apa?
うん。
OK です。大丈夫です。
それから、フローレストで、ワークをしたときに、アドナラとソロルトとフローレスでしたよね。でもそれで大丈夫かな？
アドラナ、
その、うん。
合ってます。合ってます。
はい。はい。その3つのね、場所に行かせていただいて、で、その、織物ですよね。いただいたり、記念に、購入して帰ったりして、で、それを使いたいと思っていました。それで、クリエーションの途中、まだそんなに私も映像を撮ってない時に、フローレスチームの人たちの、ちょっとこう、どんな撮影を今しているかっていうのをちょっと見せてもらって、ちらっとこう、ちょっと見させてもらった時があって、それで、なんか、ものすごい素敵な作品が、できてきているんだなっていうのを見て、これは私も頑張らなきゃと思って、とっても、エネルギーをもらったし、画面の中から、あの時会ったみんなの顔が見られたし、すごく嬉しくて、エネルギーをもらって、で、作って、それでですね、こっち、八ヶ岳の獅子岩というところでもロケーションをしたんですが、その時に私が今こちらで尊敬する女性に、アドナラのかなの、ね、あれを、コスチュームを着ていただいて、そしてそこでロケーションしたんですけど、なんかとっても光景がですね、まるでやっぱりインドネシアにいるかのようなやっぱりロケーションだったので、なんか不思議なつながりをね、感じました。
Ketika saya workshop di Flores, saya workshop di Larantuka sama sempat mampir ke Adonara, sorry, Pulau Adonara sama Pulau Solong.
Ya.
Itu wah sangat indah, sangat terkesan. Sampai sekarang masih kesan banget. Terus di situ saya beli sarung yang tunung ya, sarung juga. Terus saya pingin mau pakai materi itu. Tapi belum ada idenya. Terus pas idenya agak mentok, terus obrol sama Yudi, terus melihat sama work in progress Flores yang videonya. Wah itu sangat bagus dan dapat energi, tenaga dari mereka. Wah karena yang banyak muka-muka sudah kenal, terus mereka semangat dan videonya bagus, wah ini saya juga harus semangat. Itu dapat energi dari mereka. Terus saya syutingnya di Yatsugatake ya, penunggang Yatsugatake, nama tempatnya Shishi Iwa, batu singgah-singgah. Yang adegan yang ada wanita yang mampir ya kayak mencari pirgun. Imajinnya dari situ. Di situ saya ya ajak saya satu teman saya yang saya sangat mencintai dia. Itu namanya Takako-san desuよね。Takako-san. Terus jadi dia memakai sarungnya Adonala juga. Terus lokasinya juga wah di sana pas syuting kesannya kok kayaknya Indonesia sekali. Dan saya ingat kayak deja vu. Kayak mirip Indonesia. Terus saya ingat lagi ketika workshop di Larantuka. Jadi saya sangat kerasa kaitan Indonesia dan Jepangnya, Yatsugatake, lingkungan saya. Itu sangat kuat buat saya. Dapat energi juga.
はい。何か、ご質問とか、感想とか、
Kalau dari saya sudah, kalau misalnya ada pendapat atau komentar, silakan. Monggo.
Arigatou gozaimasu, Micari-san.
ありがとうござい
ありがとうご
ます。
ざいます。
Terima kasih.
Terima kasih. Ya, saya akan melanjutkan percakapan dalam bahasa Indonesia. Langsung menuju Q&A. Tolong sebentar, tolong ada yang Romo Ino, tolong dimatikan mikrofonnya. Sudah, terima kasih. Romo Ino dari Flores. Oke. Ya, sudah ada pertanyaan untuk Micari. Di paling bawah. Untuk Micari, apakah ini pertama kalinya mengerjakan proyek video? Karena hasil yang ditampilkan di website terasa sangat kuat dari sisi artistiknya. Lalu, momen spesifik apa yang ditemukan di Larantuka, Flores Timur, sehingga menemukan inspirasi khususnya terkait AC? Apakah misalnya dari perbincangan dengan seniman wanita di Larantuka atau keikutsertaan dalam ritual di sana? Saya minta waktunya untuk Tomo bisa
ミカリさんに質
menerjemahkan.
問なんですけれど、
はい。
すごく映像がとても素晴らしかったんですよ。芸術的でアーティスティックであって、
ありがとうご
撮
ざいます。
影をそんな風に映像作品を作ったのは今回初めてですか、それとも今まで撮ったことがありますか、というのと、あとラランとかでの何かこう得たモメントっていうのはインスピレーションとかで具体的なことってのありませんか。例えばオーセにつながる、ラランとかで出会った女の人、女性とか、あとは儀式だったりとか、そういう具体的な出会いってインスピレーションをもらったラランとかでの出来事では、フローレスでの出来事っていうのはどういうことがありますか。
はい。まず一つ目、映像作品については、昔、撮ったことは何回かいくつか作品はあります。でも、そうですね、久しぶりかな。でも普段写真を撮ったりするのが好きなので、とても楽しかったです。
kalau karya video ya, video itu memang pernah. Tapi sudah lama nggak bikin karya video ya. Kalau dulu memang pernah, tapi nggak banyak, cuma beberapa kali. Tapi saya biasanya suka ambil foto. Jadi kali ini yang workshop kerja ini sangat senang, sangat bahagia.
なんかとても綺麗だったって言ってくださってとっても嬉しいです。
Saya sangat senang bahagia karena ada yang komentar yang videonya sangat indah, artistik. Terima kasih banyak.
ありがとう。それからみんなあれはアドナラ島でしたっけ、ソロール島でしたっけ、儀式。こういう男の人たちの、 儀式ありましたよね。あそこに行った時に、上の集落、天空の集落で、一人の、老婆の方を写真に撮りました。私の中で、この方なんか、自分で私が作るオーセで、こういう感じの人かなっていう方がいたので、その方の写真を、
Ya, ada
撮ら
momen
せてく
yang
れた。
sangat kuat itu di Pulau Solong. Solong.
そうかな
I think I don't know.
Bukan bukan yang
どっちだっけ
yang
あっちの
Solong.
方。
あれですよね。トランスした方じゃない方のですよね。
ない方の。
おばあさんですよね。Iya,
So,
bukan Adolan.
Hmm.
Yang Solong itu juga wah perjalanannya sangat susah, naik terus berapa jam ya? Itu naik terus di situ ada ritual, upacara ritual. Tapi sebenarnya kita nggak bisa nonton. Tapi di situ ada wanita, simbah. Itu wah langsung ketemu, langsung kayak ini AC. Dia terus minta ambil foto. Jadi sampai sekarang dia itu dapat imaji yang momen yang kuat banget itu dari wanita itu. Sampai sekarang masih simpan fotonya.
でも他にもね、とっても印象に残った出来事たくさんありました。インスピレーションを受けること。今全部あげたら、時間がなくなっちゃうんだけど。
Sebenarnya banyak dapat inspirasi dari Flawless. Tapi ya nggak ada waktunya, ya kapan-kapan ya.
Arigatou gozaimasu.
ね、もっとたくさんあるんだけどね。
Sebenarnya banyak banget.
Ya Mas Firya, semoga itu tadi sudah menjawab ya Mas Firya. Berikutnya sepertinya Yasu sudah hadir kembali. Apakah Yasu sudah hadir? Jika teman-teman jika ada pertanyaan lain silahkan menuliskan di kolom chat box menggunakan bahasa Indonesia ataupun bahasa Inggris, silahkan. Jadi teman-teman yang berbahasa non-Indonesia juga bisa mengirimkan pertanyaan lewat chat box. Saya kalau sudah ada Yasu, apakah Yasu sudah ada di sini? Oh ya, saya melihat namanya. Yasu. Yes. Ya, ada Inokoten dari salah satu yang terlibat juga di proyek tahun ini, juga di proyek di Larantuka tahun lalu bertemu juga dengan Micari ya.
犬さん、ロモイノさん、今回演出とかもしてます。
作品で演出をされてたんですね。
そうです、シルフェスターと2人で。
ね、素晴らしかったです。
Bagus banget karyanya Flawless.
Ya, Micari-san, saya akan menuju Yasu karena ada pertanyaan untuk Yasu. Nanti kalau ada pertanyaan untuk Micari akan disampaikan lagi.
ヤスさんへの森永さんへの質問があるので、ちょっとミカリさんからシフトしてヤスさんの方へ行きます。お時間は大丈夫ですか？
大丈夫です。
Arigatou. Ya, Yasu, please open your.
Ya. Hai.
Oke.
Can you see
Yasu,
me?
apakah sudah mengaktifkan fitur interpreter Inggris? Yasu, you already turn on or activate the interpretations feature?
Yeah, I think so. Do you see me?
Oke. Saya akan melanjutkan bicara dalam bahasa Indonesia kalau begitu. Yasu, ada pertanyaan tadi. Ya. Apa tantangan teknis saat membuat musik selama pandemi, terutama karena harus kerja terpisah dengan Ubit? Yang kedua, apakah bisa menceritakan proses menemukan unsur keseharian yang tepat untuk disertakan dalam karya musiknya? Yang ketiga, apakah pandemi telah mengubah pendekatan terhadap proyek? Juga ingin mendengar perspektif Yasu tentang ketakutan dan kegelisahan dari mobilitas dan keterbukaan globalisasi. Yasu bisa menjawab dalam bahasa Inggris. Iya, nggak mungkin bahasa Indonesia.
Yeah, I'm trying to find out this language things because it's suddenly disappeared.
Oh, oke. So, ya, teman-teman penerjemah, saya akan berbicara dalam bahasa Inggris kalau begitu. So, Yasu, there is a questions for you and Ubit, but Ubit already answered. First, what are the technical challenges found throughout the process of making this music amid the pandemic, especially because you guys must work separately? That's the first. And the second, can you tell us more about the process of finding the right everyday elements to be included in the music? And the third questions, has the pandemic changed the way you guys approach this project? And it's also interesting to hear more about your perspective on fear and anxiety coming from the mobility and openness of globalization.
Okay. Is it so? These questions are coming from the participants. For the technical challenge we had, well, we didn't have much technical challenges, to be honest. The reason for this is that me and Ubit, we decide to agree. I whatever the sound files or recording coming from Ubit, I can treat them in a way that I can compose music.
Yes.
Okay, and second one, the process finding right everyday elements is most of the sound elements except for Ubit voice is coming from my library. Also, there's one track which heavily I used for the daily soundscape, which Ubit recorded in her house. So based on her recordings, I added different sounds so that her daily life becomes something else. So that's kind of an example. And there's some tracks which I was using some sort of instrument called Jaws harp. This instrument actually you see it a lot in Southeast Asia, but not only Southeast Asia, but there are it's the same instruments you can see in Ainu ethnic tribes in Hokkaido, because Hokkaido we didn't mention, but for this Pilgint research process, me, Yudi, Ugo, we went to Hokkaido to research about this project. So I thought using a JAWS hub is actually, we can cross many different music cultures. And then finally, I ended up using this for the sound in this piece. And third, pandemic changes our daily life. Yes, pandemic changes a lot, but I think it's a great break for me to look back what I have been doing and what I didn't do. So this is a time for me to do something new. So that's the answer for number 3. And number 4, the fear, the mobility in globalizations. This is a bit tricky because I think even though we see a globalizations, but we mentally we know the differentiation of what is globalizations in different countries, different cultures, but your physicality is in a different places. So the body and the mentality getting more separated each other. And I am a bit afraid that this disconnections becomes connecting to other body or other mentality, creating a different creatures. And this creature, how much we can fight with the intelligent artificial intelligence. So that's kind of my fear in globalization.
Yeah, Yasu, maybe the third question is actually about, is the pandemic change the way you approach these projects?
Oh, okay, sorry. Well, I think this project becomes like this due to the pandemic. So, which means I started and conceptualized the sound for this pandemic. So I cannot really compare because it comes from pandemic. I don't know. Hope this does the answer well.
Okay. Yes, thank you, Yasu. This is there is some another question, Yasu, for you. This is from different participants from a baby. So she want to clear some things because she cannot receive well your voice in some phrases. I will read. I didn't clearly get what Yasu just said after thinking about the issues in the Pirjin story and how they relate to the current issues. Did Yasu say that everything in a way becoming a bark? Can you clarify, Yasu?
Well, sorry for my pronunciation.
No, I think
I
this
have
is about the issues, the connections. No worries.
Okay. Actually, I was writing an answer for Kumar from this for this question, but I will read.
Okay.
So I guess I must start. The technology becomes very close to us nowadays. And because of this technological kind of attachment to our everyday life, it seems that our communication, or we are looking into more verb, which is verbs, verbs, than the noun. I don't know. I hope my pronunciation is correct now this time. So the verb, it's like when you say a Google. Google is a noun, but when you communicate, it can be also say I'm Googling, and it suddenly this noun becomes a verb. And when you think about the verb, for me, it is more like a process of time or process of execution or process of actions. So for me, this related to this understanding of becoming a verb is something that we see a lot in the story of Peer Gynt. Because even though the story of Peer Gynt, the main character is centered in Peer Gynt himself, but he sees or he meets or he experiences many different things, and these many different things, they are as if also have their own life. So it's more like ontological speaking. I found that this process of time is actually related to what we see in the characters of different characters of Peer Gynt from different perspectives. So that's why this kind of like I don't know, issue of how the attachment or detachment or connection and deconnection and disconnection of the story and our life is somehow similar. So that's why I wanted to create a sound which is more like our everyday life, but as you listen, it is not really a realistic everyday life. I hope this answers. So I mean that's kind of my approach. So that's why, as you can see, listen some tracks. You see, I hear Ubik's voice. And I see car noise. But is this car noise is actually the same as what we hear in everyday life or not? So the use of time or use of sound or becomes more like a verb in a way. I maybe verb is not.
Okay. Thank you, Yasu, for explaining again. And
Sorry.
no worries. I will continue in English, everyone. I'm sorry for my friends in Bahasa Indonesia. This is the next we go to Venuri. There is a question for our friends now, Miss Rikandi. Venuri, are you there? Please open your video. Yes. I will read a bit. Venuri, I'm feeling very related to your work. You bring the discussions on the politics of seeing and being seen to another level, where we can investigate more through your intricate questions. Do you think, in terms of anonymity, you could then be completely unknown, but your ideas are the idea of you that you choose and your works? If yes, how would you do that? Continue. Regarding the topic of collaborative work, as you said, you felt lonely in the process when you thought that a collaboration usually entailed to a form of togetherness, and due to the pandemic situation, you cannot be together. Thank you for pointing the feeling of loneliness out, because then I see how you and the rest of the team of Urfir derived from such situation and breakthrough. Yes, Venuri, please.
Thank you, Naomi, for the questions and your thoughts. I think the question was about the anonymity and whether it was possible to achieve really not to be able to be not known or to be anonymous. And I think to a certain level, I mean, as I talked in the work in the beginning, the reason to start doing this was about really trying to get some sense of power back because of the gender issue of being a woman, when you walk on the streets, or all of that, which I talk about in the thing. And so feeling that if you cannot be seen, and if I can look back at you, then I have there is a sense of power. But then, of course, this starts to flip in when the situation changes. And then I think in some sense, because of the things that we were doing, there were really some beautiful moments of being able to connect in ways that I would never have done. Also because of the fact that being able to cover in this way, I don't think the gender, like you could see that in some senses I was a woman. There was one time when I went out for a protest where I also wore some masks and wore some loose clothing where you could not can you hear the drilling in my neighbor's house? I'm just wondering.
Yes, it's okay. But your voice is clear. It's fine.
Okay. They've just started. Okay. So what was it? Yes, so they that was also for me to be able to hide class, because class is something that we really perform without almost knowing, and we can identify immediately in Sri Lanka. And this shifts how people relate to you, right? And how you connect, and how a lot of things. So how can you, so for me it was about hiding class, hiding gender, hiding identity in many ways. And there I think I was able to even not be able to seen as a woman as well in that moment. But a lot of the other times it's very clear that I'm a woman. So this part of it is not, it's not hidden. But and then also it depends, like, if I'm wearing shoes, or if I'm not wearing shoes, or if I'm wearing a certain kind of clothing, then people always try to make kind of decisions on who I probably might be. And as you see, as I talk about in the thing, they'll usually try to imagine that I'm a foreigner or something like this, or some kind of, because there's a glitch or disruption in what is supposed to be happening in our public spaces, then this person is not okay. But in sense of anonymity, a lot, I think it was possible, and possible to transcend me, Venuri, and you, whoever you are, because also now everyone is masked. It was, I think to a certain level it was possible, but I do also question myself, because in a sense of, I am the one who's choosing to do this action. So there is still a sense of agency on my part. Nobody asked for this interaction. I decided that maybe we want to connect. I don't really know. So then those questions are there, like, why am I putting myself here? Why am I wanting to connect? Why do we want this occasion of solidarity? Is it something that maybe people just want to be left alone? So the kind of things also do go are things that I've thought about. But there have been conversations that that have happened afterwards that have really have been beyond, like, conversations that I wasn't able to have if I wasn't in this anonymous space. Like, even, for example, going to the beach and talking to those, it's not a term that we should be using, beach boys, but having conversation with them the whole time. I did not take off my my shawl. So it was really, it created some kind of possibility for connection, I think. Whether it was wanted or not is another question, I think. And then that's the other thing for me, coming here to Amsterdam, I questioned then what is my position here? who am I here and why am I wanting to then continue this here? So for me, it has been a bit like I really know my position and my trajectory and my place and why I'm doing what I'm doing back home. But here, um, it's not so clear for me. Um, uh, and also, like, I don't know enough about the context. I don't know enough about the people. I don't know enough about. I feel like I need to spend more time figuring that out. And if that's because sometimes it's like things happen. Is it necessary or not? You know, is it necessary to continue to do this here? Is a question. But also when you're an artist, then when this becomes a lecture performance or when this becomes something, then the Venuri, like, you know, because I've been trying to have this roadside ninja thing, and like I've even because there was also a piece that I did before when I started working with anonymity was in complete darkness. I work in a box in complete darkness, and one audience member at a time comes in. And when I have performed it in places that was not my home, I was, even if the name means nothing, like I asked the curators, can we not have my name? You know, I don't really want any bio or anything outside. But a lot of the times this miscommunication happens and they want, in the exhibition format or whatever, they want to put these things up. But then when you don't really know who this is, then it doesn't really, so you can really, like, things that I really didn't imagine was possible and was things that I was choosing to talk about happen in that moment of, it was like, you know, you're coming into like a confession booth or therapy session or something like that, coming into a space of complete darkness where we could not see each other. Like I could not see the person who's coming into the space and they could not see me also. So there's like really complete no eyes, no shape, like, you know, you can be, of course there was some contact, so we could touch each other in a sense, which was told before, of course. But let me just conclude here that I think to a certain sense it was achieved, but when it goes to then be presented as an artwork or as in this sense, the lecture performance, then of course the anonymity is no longer there. But in that moment of being, in the moment of when I'm performing the action, it to a certain level it has. And I realized that during the pandemic, though, because Colombo is a village and everyone knows everyone, suddenly when I was doing this in 2000, earlier no one knew who I was, but now we are starting to identify people from body language, from the way we walk, from the posture, because we can no longer see our face. And more you start to be recognized. People are starting to recognize you with your mask on, which they didn't do before the pandemic. Which is, I think, interesting. We are trying to find different ways to connect and different ways to see each other. Because with the primacy of the face, of identifying the face, is no longer possible. This is something I noticed in the process of doing, and I shall stop now. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, I just want to remind you, please talk a bit slowly and brief to help our interpreter. Before we continue, there's still one question for you, Venuri, but I want to say there's a message from Micari-san that she have to leave. So she already left the Zoom. So she said thank you so much for being here with her also.
Yeah.
Thank
Terima
you,
kasih
Tomomi.
banyak.
Yeah, we're going back to Venuri. There is one more question from, this is my friend Fasya, Garasi's friend also. She was with us in one work. So this is the question. Was it liberating to search moments of intimacy and connection with strangers while being free from stereotypes connected to how your appearance is evaluated, especially while being a woman? To try to establish human relations not based on your face being beautiful or ugly, roughly speaking, since most of your face characteristic cannot be seen and therefore evaluated. Sorry if you have already talked about this topic. I enter a bit late. Okay, Fasya, why? Congrats for your work. A lot of elements were very much aligned to my exploration of ways of seeing which differentiate through the various cultures and socio-political realities we are born, raised, and active in. Yes, Venuri, please slow down, breathe.
Yeah, thank you. I'm always imagining that I'm taking too much time. And so I try to speed up to take little time as possible. But now I understand I need to be understood. So sorry. And now the drilling has got really worse. So if there's by any chance it gets like unbearable for your ears, please let me know.
It's okay.
Yeah. So I think some things I spoke about because I think I talked about the possibility of connecting because we could not see all these layers of class and but the gender was still kind of possible and it was really, really liberating. I mean, even like I said, with the groups of women who joined me, the possibility to choose not to be seen by being seen by this thing of being visibly invisible, by being able to occupy spaces in a way that we could not or people were afraid to do, or in the times we were afraid to do, places where we are not supposed to go, women walking together, these things, simple things that should be part and parcel of what should, like simple things like walking or getting into the water, to be able to do that without being seen and judged in a certain way or evaluated was extremely liberating for me, I think, and for the people who joined. But it was also interesting, the certain things that happened because there's also the day that the police stopped me and asked me for my ID that I talk about. I also had 3 motorbikes stopping me and talking to me, trying to talk to me, and my face is covered, but they're like, oh, where are you? This thing of it's still they're still not used to seeing a woman walking alone or whatever. So where are you going? And I realized, okay, maybe the place I'm walking, I'm not sure the context of the place. Maybe they assume that I can be picked up, or I don't know. There's also a woman, a man who tried to, they stop and they try to have conversations with you. And I think maybe they also feel safe because they can't see who I am. I mean, I don't really know. But it was interesting because like I said, that man said, I even said, do you think, one man asked me to that whether I need a lift, whether I can, they saw me walking and can you give me a lift? And I said, well, you can't even see me. Do you feel safe that to ask someone who you cannot see into your vehicle? And they were like, oh, no, it feels like you have a good heart, or you're a beautiful person. And suddenly, so the other parts of the body suddenly come into play. So I don't know. It's an interesting layer, because I think because it's also the combination. No? They're not used to seeing. It's either you're a Muslim, but I'm here, I make it a point that I'm like, certain, I'm wearing either a dress, which my legs are exposed, or I'm wearing the clothes that I would, so they're like, what is this thing? What is happening? Why is her face covered and her body not? So I guess what happens then, maybe my body gets objectified more than my face. Like, I don't know. But somehow it is it's extremely liberating to be able to do that, and to be able to look back, also to be able to connect, and also this experimenting with the kind of gaze, how to look like. You can really see, even if you don't see the face, if you're looking like this, or if you're looking like this, or if you're playful, like, these things it's so amazing, the power of this connection with somebody else's eyes and what it does. It's really, it's just a very simple thing, but a very powerful thing. Again, I'm not sure if I answer your question, but
Yes, thank you. I think you already answered the questions. Yes, thank you so much, everyone. I think if there is no other questions, I will go to the last question that I think this can be for all artists. Yes. So this is from Tertiani ZB Simanjuntak or Mbak Baby. I understand that Garasi has its own culture of growing ideas from the ground up. It is interesting to hear from the collaborative artists how they had to work alone, but at the same time felt the connection with each other. How do you adapt with this new workflow and whether it is applicable in your field of work? And if there should be a change to be in the same project, is there anything you would like to add or take out from your performance? So I think this is can be for all artists. Um, I will start from Venuri again, and then Mbak Ubit, and then maybe Yasu.
So yeah, I mean, as I said earlier, I already said that it was kind of a lonely process and also a learning process. Oh, how do I work with these cameras and what does it mean? And also the layers of what does it mean for me to be, if I'm anonymous and then I am carrying another camera, which is another layer of gaze, or somebody else bringing this other layer of gaze through camera. What are these, adding these elements, what does that mean? With things that I was thinking about a lot. But it was really, I mean, you know, there's time issues, technical issues, so many things, but I think Ugo especially was quite patient with me, and we had a back and forth of course, I wrote the text. How we collaborated was I wrote the text, and then he would look at it, and we would have a conversation, and you know, make some edits and this kind of a thing. So and also, like, there were times I think when Kumar, I would write because Kumar, and we would just be like, oh, let's just have a chat, you know, let's talk to each other, and we would call each other on WhatsApp and just talk about things. So it was kind of like you had, because it's not possible for all of us to meet together, then how can you then have these one-on-one connections, and how can that support you? So you feel like at least you have one or two people that you just kind of like, you use as your strength and your support in the work. At least that was my strategy. And then also kind of trying to, and then also there were meetings like with everyone together, sharing what everyone's thought process is and giving feedback. So this kind of thing was happening, where were moments where you felt like you were with each other. And this, but essentially it was, like I said before, it was definitely a feeling of separatedness or loneliness. But in terms of what I would change, I mean, I just hate looking at myself. So for me, I cannot watch this performance very well. But it's like I'm always very like, you know, what can I say? Critical about things, and I think like there could be, just technically like speed. Sita, I talk too fast, even maybe in the lecture performance. But also it was also this how to find the right balance of the context in Sri Lanka, the lecture, then the video work. And this was also working, I think, with Ugo and the editor, and how to bring these things in. Sending the other problem was also like, every time you film something and send something, or the video footage, it's like, it's so much of GB, like, and I cannot send it on Google. I don't have everything. My space is all gone. WeTransfer is only maximum 2 GB, right? And everything was like way above it. And it was almost impossible. All night trying to then like upload things on YouTube, then share it, then take it out. Finding friends who have like official WeTransfer accounts, like all these technical things that you have to think about, and it's definitely a learning process. So yeah, I mean, I haven't, I think I also learned a lot about watching. I think that the thing about this piece, this process, is the possibility to bring people into your intimate space somehow, no? And I don't know whether it's successful or not, like, because I mean, you think about the genre of film, there's already something that is being done well in this format. So how can performance fill that gap? It's a difficult thing. And also now here in this thing, the liveness is not so much there because these are recorded performances, and is live even possible in this kind of situation where you don't know whether it'll happen or not. But I think like it was really to be able to, for example, the group in Flores, no, like all of them, Veronica, everyone, like we were able to, like, I'm not sure if they would have all been able to come and be with us in Jakarta, but now here the audience is able to go there and kind of see a little bit the world, no, and also with Kumar's piece just really moved me a lot because we had been talking about this whole situation with the refugee crisis, and I had also been very like skeptical in the beginning. I don't know if you can remember our conversations, because I talk about the Easter attacks, and at that time actually when that happened I stopped working. I stopped making art. I didn't know what to do, and so I went also to work with the community of refugees who are in Sri Lanka, who a lot of people don't know about. We have a group of Pakistani and Afghani refugees who are in the interim process, like just like in Indonesia, waiting to be by the UNHCR to be sent to the third countries. And they were all, after the Easter attacks, they were all kicked out of their houses, you know, and they were because they became suddenly the enemy, and people didn't know who they were and why they were there, and they were kicked out of their homes. They were living in a mosque or in a police station, and so I spent my time kind of just trying to see what could be done with a group of friends and volunteers, and we were helping out and trying to find lodging and housing and this kind of thing for them. And then at that time, this was something that was very present for me, but I didn't feel that I could talk about it in the work because it was not my story, and it was not, I didn't know how to frame myself, because again, there's always positions of power, no? When you talk about something and when you permission, and I don't know, I didn't feel right, but it was also such a present thing that we need to talk about, you know. So how do we do this in a way that is sensitive? And I feel like in Kumar's work, and because of this format of having to do this online and Zoom, he was able to really bring the people and for them to be able to tell their story. No, as an artist, we tell other people's stories, but Kumar opened the possibility for everyone to be able to talk for themselves, and in a very playful and very a beautiful way, that and a respectful way, and there was, you know, like trying to cross the boundaries between these othering. So I think this may not have been possible if we did it as a live performance on stage. And these kind of things, I think, are things that we should hold on to and see how you can go deeper into that, like while being separate, how you can really go really hyper local. I think like earlier, you know, we get uprooted from us when we have to collaborate transnationally. We get uprooted from where we live and we have to go somewhere else and then talk about another place. But now we are in the place that we are, but we're not able to connect. Of course, that can never be replaced, this possibility to physically connect, but we can go deeper into where we are, in the context where we are, and we have the possibility of bringing people to that. And then how do we use the technology? What is the best way to do that? Like, that's a learning process. I'm not saying it's irreplaceable and this is a way to go. I'm craving to be in a space with other people and perform in this live engagement, but there are also things that I think that are possible in this way. So these, I think, is a larger project. I think these are things that really worked. This is just one example. This is not the only example, but this is, yeah.
You done, Venuri? Thank you so much. Yeah. So we will go to maybe to Yasu first, then Mbak Ubit ya, Yasuhiro Morinaga san. Yes, can you answer the question, please?
Sure.
Your time.
Well, basically, I never felt that I work alone for this project. Whenever I feel something, I have always someone from Galaxy to share and talk. So I've never felt I am working alone. And also, I'm this way of working. I don't think, for me at least, is I wouldn't say it's a new way of work. It's just like another way to to do. Currently, well, how can I say? Yeah, basically, I'm a field person, so I try to go to different places and record and document all the music from different cultures. But because of this pandemic, uh, I cannot go anywhere. So I came up with this idea to pass equipment people in the local, and these people go into the field work on behalf of me, which is for me I never have done before, but it's just like gives me a lot of information. So this kind of like switching the way I used to have is something that is important, especially for this kind of time of pandemic. So like for me, Yudi, Ugo, people from all the galaxies are more like, I don't know, it's like more than friend. So for me, if they have, if there's something that it comes up like online or physical theater or like, I don't know, anywhere or anything, for me it doesn't really matter what the medium that we are using, because the most important things is whether or not you trust this person or not. And fortunately, all these people I trust. So that's why whatever happened or whatever the world can change, it's not really, for me, it doesn't really affect me anything, because it's the most important things is how you connect with other people. So that's why I don't really have anything new to add, because it's just it's a trust, and that creates everything. So finish.
Wow, very touching response, Yasu. Thank you so much. So now, last but not least, we have Mbak Ubit. Mbak Ubit,
Yeah,
do you want to
I'm still
answer in English or in Bahasa Indonesia?
I'm still here. I think I should say things in Bahasa Indonesia.
Okay.
to,
So wait a
to
minute.
make all this connection works.
Yeah. Maybe we will let know the interpreter first that you will speak in Bahasa Indonesia.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just briefly, di antara ketiga teman kolaborator, tentu saja teater Garasi, ada Venuri, ada Yasuhiro yang pertama kali saya bekerja sama, lalu tadi ada Micari dan teman-teman lain yang 10 yang lain ya, dan seluruh teman-teman Garasi. Saya pendatang baru nih, anak kemarin sore. Jadi sebetulnya saya baru belajar untuk membuat keterhubungan di antara teman-teman ini. Tapi tiba-tiba kan semuanya harus terlaksana dalam dalam jarak yang mungkin bisa dikatakan ada beberapa lapisan jarak sebetulnya. Jadi jarak saya itu jarak dengan teman-teman teater garasi, tapi juga dengan kolaborator saya yaitu Yasuhiro Morinaga. Jadi ada usaha yang saya mencoba masuk berbeda dengan teman-teman yang lain, memang sudah beberapa kali bekerja sama. Bagaimana keterhubungan dan sebenarnya juga tadi saya sudah sebutkan sebelumnya, sebenarnya kita ini makhluk yang selalu punya ketergantungan terhadap banyak hal. Kesendirian itu menjadi sesuatu yang selalu kita pikirkan sekarang ini di masa-masa sekarang ini, dari mulai Maret sampai sekarang. Tapi sebetulnya ketika saya mulai membuat koneksi itu dengan Yudi, dengan terutama ya Yudi dan Ugo, lalu Yasu. Tapi bagaimana saya membuat keterhubungan itu dengan teman-teman yang lain yang sama sekali tidak bisa ditemui gitu kan, kecuali dengan ide-ide, dengan konsep dan seterusnya. Lalu tentu saja karena alat ekspresi saya adalah bunyi yang nonverbal, karena yang lain-lain ada verbalisme di sana. Bagaimana bunyi itu ya mengekspresikan ke semua keterhubungan yang sedang kita usahakan, paling enggak dari sudut pandang saya, dari perspektif saya, bagaimana keterhubungan itu bisa dicapai sedemikian rupa gitu. Nah, itu saya lakukan justru di selama bulan November ini, dari mulai hari pertama sampai kemarin saya setiap hari pelan-pelan menonton kembali, mendengarkan, melihat pelan-pelan, punya Sita misalnya beberapa saya pernah setengah jam tapi pergi jalan balik lagi gitu ya. Jadi ada bagaimana kita tadi Venuri, Yasu sudah mengatakan bagaimana soal keterhubungan kita ini tercapai dalam lapisan-lapisan yang berbeda. Kalau teman-teman tadi mendengar apa yang dikatakan oleh Micari, bahkan bagaimana lapisan-lapisan itu sebetulnya di masa ini, di masa yang saya masih sebut masa yang sangat sulit ini, bagaimana semua alat ekspresi kita itu sebenarnya diupayakan untuk mencapai keterhubungan baru di dalam cara kita mengekspresikan entah itu entah cara artistik atau cara-cara yang lain. Saya kira begitulah. Jadi terima kasih banyak kepada teman-teman teater garasi, terutama Yudi, Ugo, dan terutama kolaborator saya Yasuhiro Morinaga, tentu saja kolaborator lain yang saya sebut semi collaborator ya. Somehow saya menggunakan kata itu semi collaborator karena kolaborasinya adalah lapisan yang sedemikian rupa seperti lapisan-lapisan bawang yang kita mulai ya, bawang-bawang, saya menggunakan bawang yang merah, teman-teman ada yang membawa bawang bombay yang putih. Jadi lapisan-lapisan bawang itulah yang sebetulnya sedang kita atau paling nggak saya dari perspektif saya, bagaimana suara-suara itu terdapat di dalam lapisan-lapisan semi kolaborasi kita. Saya kira itu, Sita, terima kasih banyak.
Terima kasih Mbak Ubit ya. Mungkin seperti yang juga yang disebutkan Mas Yudi di kolom chat gitu, bahwa suaranya Mbak Ubit yang luar biasa ini sebenarnya juga sudah menghubungkan kami semua gitu. Dan Mas Yudi juga sebenarnya menaruh beberapa komposisi yang dibuat oleh Mbak Ubit dan Yasu di beberapa karya modular yang lain. Terima kasih. Mungkin ini yang terakhir ada komentar dari Mbak Olin. Ya, terima kasih untuk seluruh performer, spesial untuk Venuri. Maaf ini masih Daman dan Mbak Gracia, mungkin saya akan pindah ke bahasa Inggris ya, supaya saya tidak harus menerjemahkan. So, for Venuri also thank you. This is from Olin Monteiro in chat box. Especially for Venuri and her concept of seeing or being seen, also anonymity in the world where many people would like to be seen a lot and or exist in social media now. It is also a reflection of how we wanted to present our thought without being judged by our look. Yet, we also see it as a strategy to critique on the fact that woman body is so profane for some group that would like to suppress woman body. Society want to rule and or limit woman's body. In terms of what happened in Aceh, for example, and or other area in Indonesia, who performed the Sharia law, but then it is entering the government office and many institutions. So we hope that we could see your performance in Jakarta in our future program. For example, Women Festival and the other. Thank you, Venuri. My name is Olim Mentero, activist and art enthusiast from Jakarta. This is special thanks for Venuri. Okay, then,
Thank you.
thank you. Is there any other questions? Ugo raise hand. Okay.
Hi.
Hi.
Um, I I try to retain. I'm going to speak in English. I hope it's fine. Uh, um, so yeah, basically in these 3 days of artist talk, I try to retain myself not to speak, but I think there is so much that has been going that has been we've discussed so much in the past 3 days, and I think Venuri and Kaubit and Micari, also Yasu, kind of wrap up this whole conversation very. Um, it's not nice. It's very
Gracious,
um,
gracious.
yeah, graciously and very also raise. I think a very important and crucial insight that also articulate some of my concern and some of my anxiety around the process itself. Like I think um, 2 point Venuri brings around a very important thing around after we've done all this 11 work, what we have is a very um, uh, detailed, and we are managed to elaborate our particularity of every topic in a certain depth, meaning that uh, um, and I am very happy that uh, um, Fenuri also underlined that now we can see that this um, connection between 11 very specific, very particular exploration. I think uh, that is a very crucial insight for me, and it's very much also related to why this insight is very important. Why this finding is very important is also very much related to what Kak Ubit said, because of the manner of our work, the manner of the communication, also the individual work needed, the whole production management, the whole scheduling that require every artist to work in their own cubicle, so to speak, right? In what Venuri said as a everybody's loneliness, so to speak. Um, but we are connected through keyword, to question, to main question in the project. But then it raised question also throughout the process. I think Yudi and I shared this question. Is this collaboration, or is this collaboration enough, so to speak, right? Because of this, because how limited we can see each other, how limited we can connect each other, and Yudi and I work some kind of mediator, as a facilitator of conversation, that
that we know ideally should involve everyone, right? But because of the nature of the individual modular work, everybody has to work separately and within their own timeline. Therefore, even after the opening, I keep on asking myself, is this collaboration enough? Is this collaboration? I think that the what we can underline. I think I hope Kaubit and Venuri and Yasu also. I don't know your input about this, but what I see is that this is the difference between what we know of collaboration process. That is something usually collaborate during the rehearsal, and then the output of our collaboration is what happened on stage. That is the convention, right? But now, at least what I learned from the whole month of festival that we have, we actually uh, learn about each other all the time differently and more in depth throughout the event. And I think that is also another aspect that feels um, enriching this moment, enriching this 1 month of festival. I, I, I I don't know whether I'm speaking out of turn here, but what I'm trying to say is that even in my case, I keep on finding connection. I find connection between one work and another. I find a new connection between Komar and Venuri. I find connection between friend from East Flores with friend from Darfur work in Komar. All of those new connection, new ideas. I think based on what I learned from Kaubit, for instance, it is also something that we uncover throughout the process. Meaning that uh, collaboration that also takes place during the event, so to speak. It is an attempt to continue creating a network of ideas, network of team, network of specificity. Because when is the last time we connect something that happened in Sri Lanka and something that happened in Colombo, Sri Lanka, and something that happened in Larantuka, for instance, right? Um, and how it is, what does it mean to make that connection? What does it mean to think through these very specific places and also create a new map in our mind? And what does this map mean? I am very fortunate to be with among you guys, and also with the audience, right? We throughout the audience, we have the whole conversation with audience that is very engaging, and I have the opportunity to learn from the audience too. Um, uh, I think this is, yeah, in many ways, this is a different kind of collaboration, if I may say. That collaboration that continue to keep on making, continue to keep on mapping, and my question right now is this going to keep continue to take place, this network of idea outside or even beyond the closing of our work on November the 30th? I think I'm hopeful for that, and I don't know. I'm so happy, and I hope I'm not speaking what is it unclearly. That yeah, that's all.
Thank you,
Thank you, thank
Kaugu.
you.
Thank you, Kaugu. Thank you so much. Yeah, I think uh, this last part from Kak Ugo as a drama, Ugo Ramprasad as a dramaturg of this project, Urfir Huhu and the Multitude of Virgins, will be close for this artist talk this afternoon. Uh, Before you left, this is always happen. I want to invite you to open all your video because we will have photo sessions. So please, everyone, open your video, turn on your video. Thank you. By Naomi, Mas Yudi, Putu, Mbak Evi, Abdi, Karya, Mbak Dita. Abdi Karya? Okay. Everyone's already on? Okay. Mbak Lucy, can you make a count?
Thank you, everyone. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
This is also
Asu Pasya from all
Wait,
over the world. Makiko-san,
Thank you.
1, 2,
Venuri,
foto
Barbara.
pose.
wait. Wait for the second screen.
Ser Urfir.
Urfir.
Okay, move to the second screen. Mbak Naomi, would you open your video? CFV? No?
Hai.
Eka? Oh, Eka is still here?
Ada Evi.
Silakan kalau mau ngobrol nggak apa-apa.
Ini apa ya ini?
Okay, okay. No.
Venuri Fasya is from Athens, from Greek.
Hi,
You see,
Venuri.
He is close.
yeah.
Okay.
Vasya, miss you.
Three.
Sudah.
Done.
Okay.
Okay.
Lama nyengir nih,
wait,
lama nyengir.
I will retake for the first screen.
Gue paling gaya.
Come on, Lucy, don't take too long.
Ya.
Giginya kering.
Okay, so it's done.
Ya.
Oke.
It's
Okay.
done.
Thank you so
Thank
much
you,
everyone.
Thank
Terima
you,
kasih
Kalbi.
semuanya. Thank you Kalbi.
Thank
Thank
you,
you
Baby,
Yasu.
Gracia,
And
Idama.
Venuri. Thank you for
Thank you so
everyone.
much.
Terima kasih.
Makiko-san.
We still have
Thank you,
all
Mbak Oli.
performance ya.
Thank you, Mbak
We still have
Evi.
a lot of performance in the weekend until
Thank
Monday.
you, Makiko.
We still have performance until Monday, so please watch again. Tomorrow will be Abdi Karya, and then there will be me on 28, and then the last 30 there will be Gunawan Marianto and Ari Duyanto. Thank you so much everyone. Terima kasih yang sudah hadir 3 hari ini, Mas Idaman, Mbak Gracia. Thank you for interpreting. Terima kasih semuanya. Sampai ketemu lagi. Semoga kita bisa segera bertemu dalam situasi yang lebih baik. Selamat sore. Thank you. Hope to see you in a better situation. Bye bye, Venuri.
Bye.
Makiko-san.
Yasu, Venuri.
Bye.